Yo, yo, yo. Hey, guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practices Show. You ever thought to yourself, as a dentist, when do I take CE? Which CE do I take? Where is CE going? How do I think better about continuing education? Well, I have an amazing guest, good friend of ours, Dr. Christopher Mazzola. And this is his first time on the podcast. I know you're going to enjoy this. And we cover when is the right time to take the right CE. Please listen to this. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast. You do a lot of CE. I hope you do. And one of the things you have to figure out as you're taking CE and you get older is when is the right time to take the right CE? It's a big question. And so we're going to unpackage the question with one of our amazing clients, one of our amazing friends in the ACT dental community, Dr. Christopher Mazzola. Thanks for being on, brother. I appreciate you.
Humbled and honored. Thanks for having me.
Long time coming. I've been bugging you, actually stalking you to get on. And now I finally got you on. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
No turning back now. So I always like to start here. So just because we have a lot of different listeners at different age groups, give us a little bio. Who are you? Where do you practice? What do you do?
Sure. So Chris Mazzola, 41 years old, live in Traverse City, Michigan. About as north as you could be before you reach the Upper Peninsula. Been practicing for about 15 years. Had a chemical engineering degree first, then got my dental degree. Lived in Colorado for 5 years, was a part of a DSO. And then we had a turning point in our life. We had our son named Baylor, who's now 12. And we were traveling a lot to see family, so family moved us back to Michigan. Traverse City is where my wife is from. So we're in her family's fourth generation practice. So it was great grandpa, a couple uncles, now her and her cousin, who are also both dentists in the practice. We have a very, kind of linchpin practice in the community. We're very lucky. I kind of married into something very special, and I take that legacy very important, or very, personally. To continue to push what we do here. We've evolved a little bit. We don't have any of the original partners from when I became a partner 10 years ago now. So Dr. Swan, he just retired, and we're kind of plowing through, trying to make waves and create a practice that we want for ourselves now.
I love it. I did not know you have a chemical engineering degree. Very cool.
Yeah, love it.
That's awesome. You also left out a big piece. You teach, so you are actually a CE provider. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So I'm fortunate enough to be a Pankey Scholar, and part of that process, they asked me to be a faculty member at the Institute. So I'm a lead faculty for the Essentials 3 course, for the photography course, and a new course that starts October 2025, which is a Mastering Treatment Planning and Execution course. So we're excited about that course. Basically, you're going to bring data to us, and we're going to discuss, deliberate, and try to go from the treatment planning to the sequencing and execution, really to build, scaffolding around getting you confidence to be able to execute these higher level cases. And that's really where people get stuck. They know how to gather the data, but they just don't know how to go from treatment planning to walking their practice through it. And it's not just you as the dentist. It's how do we do this from the front, your assistants, your labs, and getting everyone to move as a unit.
Yeah, I love it. Now, I want you to talk about the why behind this topic. Right time to take the right CE. Why is this an important subject for dentists that are listening?
Well, there's a couple reasons. The first, there's a lot of CE that's in vogue, right? Like I mean, I love some of the fancy CE that we see that's beautiful. It's presented really, really well. And, we see it all over Instagram and it's like a badge of honor on the wall. But really the why is what are you getting from it? How are your patients receiving better care? How is your staff more confident in the care that we're delivering in the office? How is their daily life better? So that's one bucket. The second is it's not about going and implementing it. Is the staff ready? Are all of the basic systems in place for them to be able to be excited with you to be able to do something new?
Right. Yeah. Because we could just go there. A lot of you come back from a course and you're all excited. And they're not excited because you've been gone. You've been looking at these amazing things. And this is like the joke. We should have a skit on this. Like, oh my gosh, he just got back from XYZ. And let's just distract the heck out of him. Like, let's just keep him so busy. Let's throw extra stuff in there. Stay away from him. By Wednesday, he'll completely forget. He even went to a course because the team isn't ready to hear it, right?
Absolutely. And part of that is seeing what's happened from being at Pankey. So in the Essentials 1 course, you're basically mastering the new patient experience. Okay. 90 minutes commitment. You have your conversation in the consult room, which is where we are right now. And just trying to get to know the person, figure out their personality style, try to figure out, where their risks are, and gather information. Okay, so that's Essentials 1. Essentials 2 is a lot of appliance therapy, learning muscle exams, and really figuring out how do we get these people out of pain that are suffering from occlusal muscle dysfunction. Coming from E1 to E2 or E2 to E3, very few people have made the commitment to actually taking those steps in their practice. So, I don't feel that I'm going to say that it's them. I think part of it is the way that the practices are structured is they are spinning their wheels that they don't have the ability to come back and have a meeting to implement. Like, I need 90 minutes for my new patient exam, not in hygiene, just doctor, patient, assistant.
Right.
That's not the norm. And so seeing people, and a lot of the people that we see aren't owners either. So when you're not the owner of the practice, coming in and trying to ruffle feathers is the way that it's seen a lot of the time, going against the grain from what the owner does, you can't gain traction.
Yeah.
And so then it's not education anymore, it's edutainment. They're just paying to be entertained. And I feel bad when those situations occur.
Yeah. And can we go there? I want to go back to that too, because do you think there's some value in that? Now, let me explain. Like, people that aren't owners, I don't really know who I am yet. I don't even know what I like. I want to get excited about something. So I'm going to pay for a course. I don't even know what it's about. And then you've had this happen. You go to a course, you're like, oh my gosh, that is so exciting. So you got the kind of pre-phase before you know who you are. And then we're going to get into, like, once you know who you are, now you got to start to make better decisions. But what do you say to those people that don't own a practice and don't know a lot? Because I've been into Pankey, I've been in the condos, the old ones. Yeah. And there are dentists that are like, I don't even know if I want to be a dentist. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, this has been a great day type of a thing. So there's that life cycle. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, dentistry is a profession where it's the path of discovery, right? So not only as you as the person, the provider, the leader, the boss, but like the kind of dentist you want to be. I mean, there is nothing wrong with bread and butter dentistry. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with only wanting to treat TMD. There's people who place implants, right? There's people who don't, that refuse. I don't do any endodontics. I don't want to, right? But I've been doing this for 15 years now, where my funnel is getting smaller and smaller and smaller based on what I've learned and seen happen. It's experiential, really. And the hard part for people is the debate between being a jack of all trades and narrowing yourself down to where this is what I do, this is who I am, and I'm going to be great at that. It's hard in dentistry because then you feel like you're pushing production out the door. Right. And I just don't, that's the way that I feel about it, is that you should always be trying to hone in on what you really enjoy doing. I like treating TMD and restorative dentistry. That's my practice. I used to place a ton of implants. I haven't placed an implant in 10 years. I only take out teeth on little old ladies that want me to do it, that don't want to see the oral surgeon.
Right.
I have the skill set, but it's just not what I enjoy doing and who I am.
Yeah.
But part of that is experiencing other practices, little study clubs, seeing what people are doing, where their struggles are, and just trying to figure it out for yourself.
Right.
We don't give the profession enough credit for how hard it is. It's a beautiful profession, but it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Go back to the one scenario. I want you to unpackage that when the team isn't ready. So if I'm a dentist listening, I take this amazing course. I get all excited. I go to the course. Team's not ready. Talk about that. What happens?
Well, the dentist, myself included, have come back very, very, very excited, right? You huddle Monday morning, you're back, you're telling everything, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. Secretly behind you, everybody's whispering, he's going to forget about this in 2 weeks.
Right.
Because the hustle and bustle of the practice. The best thing that you could do for yourself coming back from CE is not see patients Monday morning. You've got a team meeting, 2, 3, 4 hours long, however big your team is, however you need to build out systems to implement this, or it won't be as fluid as you want it to be. Right. You will be going against the current. And in some practices, the current is very strong based on the personalities around you. In some of them, they are very supportive, but it's a very hard thing for even the dentist to wrap their mind around about how supportive their team is to change. Because for us, one of our core values is growth mindset. So if you're not on board with growing, this is the wrong practice for you. So when we come back excited, our team is excited because they know that that's what it takes to be here.
Yeah. And when you come back, let's say you do the team. I'm a big fan. Don't take CE unless you have any type of CE, whether it be individual or team, without having a team meeting in place at some level. So I totally agree. And if you get used to that, or if you have a regular, way of doing that, the retention on the ROI with the course, that includes a lot. Sometimes it's a lot to go away. In some cases, you're giving up days of production. It's not just the course tuition, it's the meals, it's the flights, right? So you want to be able to get a sustainable ROI.
Yeah, I can speak to Kois. I love John Kois. If you're listening, hey buddy, right? The way that his stuff is built out is fantastic. If you don't have a framework for what he's talking about, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
If you don't have a team that understands the basics and you come and you try to implement everything that he gives you, I don't know how people do it. It is so much amazing information, but it's challenging to digest it.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Let me give you another challenge. Okay. Yeah, so we have a multi-doctor practice.
Yep.
One doctor wants to do it this way. One doctor wants to take this course. Another doctor. Talk about that challenge.
Yeah, we are 4 full-time practicing general dentists that are all about the same age. We go from 41 to 43 between the 4 of us. So we've all been through Pankey, and 2 of us have been through Kois, and 2 of us haven't. And it's not a negative, but what it does is it creates challenges when I have an assistant who's sick or out, and one of the other assistants fills in because they're not used to the different types of data, right? What are we collecting? Why are we collecting it? Why am I doing a deprogrammer instead of an appliance, right? Why am I using the Kois reference classes and they're not, right? They don't understand the why behind it, because as an office, which isn't a good thing, we educate our assistants based on who they work with. right? So I have my two,
Mm-hmm.
Andrea and Samantha, shout out if you guys are listening.
Yeah.
But they are with me 4 days a week, so they understand what I'm doing, right? And so then once one of them is out, like a maternity leave, and I have someone coming in, it's a challenge,
Yeah.
and that's hard to not have clarity and not have the ship going the same direction for all four, because we all do restorative dentistry and we all treat TMD.
Yeah.
But in some practices, right, you'll have the guy who does the surgery, guy or gal, right? You have the TMD person, right? You've got the one that does all the pedo, and you have the one that dabbles in the Invisalign. And it's easy to kind of make the funnels for those people different. When we're all doing the same thing, it's a challenge. It really is.
Yeah. And then talk about this. There's another challenge that happens. It's the schedule and how far patients. Let's take a 3-doctor practice that has a lot of team members, take a great course, even if we take the same course. Okay, Chris, my hygiene is booked out 6 months. My schedule's booked out 4 weeks, blah, 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 but we have no time. We have a hard enough time getting our huddles in. So when you're fighting that battle, and what you're talking about is having a delivery system ready to go, locked and loaded, so at least we can take a few of these pieces and put them in the flow, right?
Right. Well, what happens is when people come back from CE, they either have the 1 or 2 people in mind as they return that they're going to back up and start over, or they're going to try to hit the bullseye of that patient that matched the course that they took. And hopefully that happens in the first couple of weeks. If it doesn't, retention drops.
Right.
Right. So if you're seeing 2 new patients a week and you're trying to find this one that's going to be the unicorn that lines up, it might be 8 weeks out or 10 weeks out or 12 weeks out, or you're already going to course number 2 before that person appears. And so really understanding what you're investing in before you go, 6 months out, a year out, talk to people who have done the CE before you to kind of prime your brain to be looking for some of this stuff beforehand so you can see how prevalent it is in your practice even.
Right.
Right? We've got 5,500 active patients in our population because we're 4 dentists, right? We see a lot of stuff cycle through between the 4 of us. If you're a smaller boutique style where you might see, 1 new patient a week and you've got 700 patients, getting the same type of exposure is challenging.
Yeah. Now let's talk style. So I've been clinically diagnosed as a wuss. You are not a wuss. You've referred to yourself as a bulldozer. So if I'm listening to this and I'm a bulldozer type personality, what have you learned about yourself coming back from these courses?
You can overwhelm your staff very fast.
How?
You come in, you be a driver. So I'm a driver, I'm a D, right? Like I come through, I say, this is the information, this is what we're doing. And it's not always effective based on the person receiving the information. Because unfortunately, what I've learned over 15 years and reading way too many leadership books now is that people don't want to be talked to like I want to talk to them. They want to be talked to in a way that is conducive to making them feel protected and making them feel safe with us moving on as a team, not as me dictating it, but me as leading from behind and saying, you guys got me. Can we move forward with this?
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, it's totally different. Now let's talk about, there's so many components, and obviously if you're listening to this, we don't want to overwhelm you, but we do want to call out some things. I'm a dentist. Let's say I'm a dentist. I'm taking a course. We also often impose our self-limiting beliefs. We get exposed to great things, like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't have any patients that would want to do this. Can you talk about that? I mean, and one of the words that gets thrown around or terms is imposter syndrome. And while I'm not an expert on that, I do hear it frequently. Can you speak to that?
Well, I mean, it's the CE world is challenging, okay? Because another 2 that I absolutely adore is Adamo and Amanda. Their stuff is unbelievable. And they have built beautiful series of continuing education that is very specific to doing certain things. Okay. Just going to take their courses and not implementing what you learn, that goes along the imposter syndrome route. And in my mind, right? Like, I took their photography course to become better at clinical photography, both to communicate with the media, social, right? To communicate with my laboratory, which is very important, and the patient themselves, right? With understanding the impact that a photography course has on the practice, that is worth 2 days and $5,500. That will move the needle a whole lot farther than some of these other little niche courses. But you have to see what you're missing and grab the big picture, and that's how you create impact for yourself.
Yeah. And then for anybody that's along the life cycle, maybe in the same stage of the game as you, let's say I'm in my early 40s or late 30s. So Chris, I mean, CE is a lot. I mean, people ask me this question, so I'll like, how much should I spend on CE a year? Like, how frequent should I take one? If I'm going to take something that's heavy, I mean, I've seen dentists like speed through curriculums, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good idea either. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't think you gain anything by, because you have zero time to implement and create change within your team. So if I'm going to give a whole lot of credit to anybody, it's we've got to back up, and people don't realize what you've invested in dentistry. So the profession is better because you're in it, and everyone needs to hear that. And the systems that you've built to help get people baseline strong core valued practices. Okay, we went along this journey with you guys a little over 2 years ago because we were in disarray. We had an office manager that was with us for a decade. We were transitioning between her replacement and a new one, and we were lost. I mean, production-wise and all that, it's smoke and mirrors because we are still producing at a high rate. People still trust us. The dentistry was fine. But internally, our culture was garbage, right? And if you can't confidently say that the people in your practice know your core values, your mission, your vision, your purpose, right? What makes you unique? Don't go take CE.
Right.
Because if they're not on the ship with you, right, and you're not plowing forward, and the sail is open, and you're flying on all cylinders, the CE is it's probably gonna drive a wedge farther in to the group because people don't believe in it, because they don't have faith in the practice yet, and it's hard. It's hard work. It really is. But that's what I believe as being in dentistry for 15 years. So if you're in your practice and you're trying to figure out, oh, maybe I should go do COIS's 6 courses, how is the health of your practice? And if you're going to invest in anything, find someone that can help you make that strong, and you will have greater joy while you're at work.
Yeah.
And then when that's nailed down, yeah, I can talk all day. Anyone who wants to reach out to me, I've done just about all of it between Spear, COIS, Pankey, Adamo's courses. I've done some of the Nobel mini implant residency, all this stuff, right? But I didn't realize that it wasn't helping me at the time. It was actually hurting me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, your words are very kind, and I appreciate it. But I mean, everything I've ever done is borrowed on some level or all levels. But I want you to go back to the health thing. Like, Chris, let me just say, how do core values and the health of your practice have anything to do with CE, especially as you grow? Like, you're killing it, man. And the reason I throw that at you is I find people all the time. They have amazing practices, and they're growing and they're scaling. And I'm like, you got to get this place healthy. No, it's like it falls on deaf ears. Where are your core values? They just throw it to the side immediately. I'm like, I'm trying to help you. And they're like, I know you are, but like, I'm on to other things. Do you find this is a tough conversation?
With other dentists?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why?
Okay, so I would toss it back to anyone who's listening, right?
Yeah.
So how do you hire, fire, make decisions for the practice that are financial based or for the growth of the practice? What's your framework?
I don't do it. I have somebody else do it. I just focus on patients. I'm kidding with you, but that's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, and I hear the same thing. If you don't have either 3 or 4 pillars that you can stand on and everybody knows it, it's kind of just fluff.
Right.
Or you're relying on someone else to make a decision that's in and out of your life. You know, they don't understand what happens day to day to day to day to day. And people need to know that gives people safety.
Right.
It's like when you have a framework to be able to have a conversation with a staff member on growth, right? Like, this is what we need. One of ours is the team. So Bo Schemblecker is the team, the team, the team. I don't know if you've ever heard that speech that he gave in 1983, right? Like, we are a unit. We only function as good as our lowest hanging fruit.
Right.
Right. We need to help build each other up. So if the team isn't acting as a unit and you go do this fancy course and you come back and they're not behind you, it will be like trying to run uphill.
Yeah. Can I throw another curve? I love this conversation. I could easily keep you on here for 2 hours.
Let's do it. I like
the title of it, The Right Time. Now, you've heard me say this, time is the new rich. I find that is a huge challenge. People always say, like, Chris, you don't understand. I have little kids. I have no time. I can't find time. How long is this course? It's not so much the money. It's the time. Or, I'm just going to say it, I can't go. Why can't you go? My person won't let me go. I'm like, what? Like, what is going on? So those are real challenges. I'm not making fun. I've heard that many times. Like, my significant other doesn't understand why I would be gone for 4 days when we have little kids. Like, it's hard enough. I come home and I get it. Like, I was there. I get that. So I don't even know what I'm asking, but let me just throw the time challenge at you. Can you unpackage that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get personal. This came up in my marriage. I mean, my wife's a dentist also. We have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And for me to feel complete as a provider, I need to have the flexibility to have 1 week of education. And now it's turned into 1 to 2 weeks of trying to grow the profession. And she's on my side because she understands how important it is for me.
Right.
That came with conflict in the beginning. Conversation is to have her understand why I need it and for her to know that I understand how challenging it is when I'm not there. But she supports me. And, so much of that conflict is because conversation doesn't happen. And your significant other should want you to feel satisfied that you are, on a journey to be able to deliver, the best care that you can. And I'm not going to say you got the wrong partner if they don't, but you need to be able to tell them these are the reasons why, and they should support you.
Right.
And it's hard. It is hard with little kids. It absolutely is. I mean, I will tell you, when we went through the essentials at Pankey, my wife was she's probably going to kill me for saying this, either pregnant or breastfeeding and pumping the entire time we did them.
Yeah.
Because it was right when we had Baylor, and then it was when we had Eliana, and then followed up with Rosie, and we kind of went through these things. So I get it. She did it with me. So as a husband and wife, that was very nice. But then we also had to find people to take care of our children when we weren't there.
Totally.
And that's challenging because then you have to have the conversation, like it was either with my mom or her mom, like why this is so valuable for us, both as professional, as a couple, to be able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I would echo those, and Sarah would kill me. I mean, I've shared a lot. My wife is amazing. I think it always goes back to values and like knowing what the other needs in this whole process. And so my wife would schedule girl weekends with her girlfriends and go just so I could experience what she's experienced. And I would go, when are you coming back? She's like, I'm not telling you. And I would count the minutes until she came back, so it made me more empathetic to that. And she also appreciates. So I think that's While I'm not a marriage counselor, I've screwed it all up as much as you can screw it. I think you're exactly right, is expectations early, value-based things, so that when I have to, I hate to get cliche on this, but when I have to take a withdrawal of time, there's been enough emotional deposits there and an understanding of time, because that is a challenge. Don't get me wrong.
And I think making sure, especially if your spouse isn't in dentistry, that you carve out the same amount of time for them that's unique and special.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take a week of CE, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but I would at least try to get a long weekend away with my spouse as well. Because I mean, that is not CE based. Like, you need that time to grow and connect. And, I had a mentor tell me, what we do is challenging because we give our best to our patients. We come home and we know that at home, someone there has unconditional love for us. And so we don't have to treat them as well all the time. So you better make sure that that's not the normal, that's not your everyday, because we carry a heavy load between trying to keep a happy staff and happy patients. And you come home and you can dump. You absolutely can emotionally dump on your spouse. So you just got to be mindful of that.
Yeah. So I have so many questions for you on CE, because I get these.
Yeah.
CE has evolved in person versus online. That's a whole interesting conversation. What are your beliefs? Just put your flag in the ground on this one.
So if you're trying to personally move the needle in your practice to change the way that you operate, you need to be in person.
Why?
It is full immersion. And so these week-long courses, Spear, Kois, Pankey, they all basically are operating around the same principles. It's just who you want lecturing to you, and do you want to be in Miami, Seattle, or Scottsdale? You just have to be there, and it has to be longer than a 3-hour thing that is on a Friday. Now, it depends on where you are in your practice life as well, from a time standpoint. So what you've seen. You can move the needle with webinars. If you are new to dentistry and the barrier to entry is cost, you can get a lot of great pearls and a lot of great, I'm not going to say tricks, because that's minimizing what these lecturers are giving to the community as a whole. But you can learn a lot, and you can learn a lot of, I think about like class 2 composites. They are the worst thing in dentistry. Absolutely. They are the hardest thing we do. I don't care what anyone says, they are.
Okay, say why. You got to say why.
I would give anything to be able to just scan it and do it in porcelain, right? I mean, it's just an easier delivery method, right, than the challenges that are on class 2s. There are some amazing clinicians that give great 2, 3, 4-hour webinars on how to properly utilize the Garrison system, right? Like, if you're struggling with class 2s, that's one that can move the needle fast for you. Like, I like Emeritus. He does fantastic composite work, right? Like, you want to learn some tricks to help you get better in what bread and butter dentistry is. Yeah, there's webinars for that. But if you're trying to do a different type of treatment style, right, like learning a comprehensive exam, like, you can't do that via webinar, not in my opinion. There's my stake.
There you go. I love it. Now, we haven't talked about this. This is one of my favorite benefits, because a lot of times, I'm not a dentist. I love going just because it's great. It's energizing. It's the relationship component. You said dentistry is lonely. When you give yourself permission to be somewhere for a weekend, it's amazing how deep you can connect with other human beings. How important is the relationship component in CE? Throw that in there.
Well, you're building a network. You're building a community of people. This is going to sound silly, but feel your pain.
Right.
Right. Are having the same struggles. They're having the same objections. They're feeling the same roadblocks. That's why you're there together. It's, from, again, being around the Pankey Institute a lot, we see these pods of people move through everything together because there's a connection that's deeper than just learning how to do a comprehensive exam.
Right.
It's they understand the path that they're on to feel more fulfilled, and they want to do that together. And so they'll continue through the entire curriculum. They'll bring some of the old faculty to little study clubs all over the country to help keep them together so they can, feel safe and talk about these struggles that a lot of us aren't comfortable enough talking about because it creates vulnerability.
Right.
I think in dentistry, if we had more vulnerability, more truth to what's being lectured, we would all feel a whole lot better that people are in the same space that we're in.
Totally agree. I know I'm keeping you. I have so many questions. Can I throw this one at you too? Yeah, it's anyone's guess. It's anyone's guess. You're involved in a lot of stuff. It's 2024 that we're shooting this interview. What does CE look like in the future? Where do you think it's going? What's your hunch? And we'll do a follow-up. 3 years from now, what does CE look like?
Well, it's kind of scary for me. I worry about losing people like Leanne Brady and John Coyce.
Right.
I think that what they do for the profession as a whole, makes my hair stand up on end on the number of clinicians they've touched, making them better, to the number of patients that they've touched, and how expansive that becomes. I'm around the CE world a little bit, both as an instructor and as a participant, which I love. I don't know, and it's an interesting thing. I some of these big meetings, they're starting to lose a little velocity, and I think a lot of that comes from the investment side, from some of the big like Pattersons and things like that, in providing funding to bring these good lecturers in. Because the money that people were making lecturing 20 years ago is different than what it is now. So it's hard to step away from your practice and feel fulfilled as a lecturer. So I don't have a good answer for you for that, and it kind of makes me nervous to figure out where we're going to be, because there's not like who's the 40 or 50-year-old that is teaching bread and butter, nuts and bolts, how to be great at occlusion. Like, where are those people? And I don't know. And I think we better figure out who those people are and invest some, blood, sweat, and tears to keep that aspect of dentistry alive.
Right. And I don't know the answer to that question either. I just, when I look back at my life, it wasn't so much the education, it was the heart behind the teacher. There were teachers that had teachers' hearts, and they still exist. Many of you mentioned already. That is the powerful formula. So, I don't know. Give us go ahead.
It's a tough one, and I think one of the sayings in the path of mastery, right? Like, we all want to be masters of our craft. Well, you got to be able to teach it is a big one. So my challenge even to the listeners is try to get a study club going in your town, right? Yeah. And present some of the stuff that that other people don't. That's how you're going to grow your community. I say this, and I don't mean for it to sound comical, but I really don't feel like I have any competitors. And I say that because I have a bunch of colleagues that I want to see our level of professional delivery rise in Grand Traverse County. That's my goal. So whenever I run a study club, it's I'm happy to see them doing these big cases. I can't do them all, and I don't want to, right? That becomes overwhelming. But we want to see that rise as a group.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I want you to answer this question, but before we do, okay, so I'll throw a question at you, but I want you to point people in the right direction. So if I'm a dentist listening, or if I'm a dental student, what do I do after this? Give me a treatment plan after this. But before we do, give us some final thoughts.
Sure. you really just have to take a deep dive personally to figure out where you are. Where's your practice at? What's your mix of services like? What do you dream to see for yourself, in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and write it down. Because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get traction and move things the way that you want to see it. So, if you're right out of school, you need to find a mentor. You need to find someone who has a teacher's heart, who wants to, take you under his wing or her wing and like really see that you get the practice of dentistry and the business of dentistry. If you're 5-10 years out and you're super frustrated because you're seeing some of your original work come back and is breaking, chipping, failing, popping off, maybe it's time to get involved in one of the bigger curriculums, right? If that's what's frustrating you, right? Like go to Pankey, go to Spear, go to Kois, right? They all have their ways of doing what they do. And personally, I'm going to say go to Pankey first. I just feel like that really sets you up to go to the others and have a higher level of success. If you're a practice owner and you're 15 years out and you're feeling frustrated, but it's really not the dentistry that's frustrating you, you need to look at your practice. And I will say that CE is this thing that's in quotations and bubbled because it's restorative driven a lot of the time. No, practice growth also happens in the practice with your admin team, with your office manager, right? We've had this conversation about like, you don't train your team.
Right.
We train our dogs, right? Like we develop each other, right? And like you have a saying, and you probably got it from someone else, but like the best leaders see the people that they've led now lead others, right? That's what you want.
Yep.
And so if you're not seeing that in your practice, you need to go find that. Obviously, we have a resource that's on the other side of this mic right now that can help you with that. But it is. There's lots of decision trees that you can go down for this. You really have to look internally first. And like, are you just filling a void by going to see John Kois, right? Like, what's the void? Is it because your team isn't helping push you forward? That's a team problem. That's not an education problem. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Love it. It's just finding out the motivation for why you do it. And then as you get to know yourself, you know how to choose wisely, hopefully, as you age and learn more collectively. So good stuff. Well, I always like people to take an action. What do you want them to do? Like, give us something to do. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, I would tell you to take a piece of paper out and write what your struggles are. Really write what your struggles are. Is it the class 2 composite, or is it the admin team that's not giving you enough time to do the class 2 composite? Do you feel rushed, or do you feel like you don't know how to properly utilize your armamentarium? So I think that's the biggest thing that you can do right now is to write down the good, the bad, and the ugly on what you feel is happening for you as a dental professional, whether that's an associate or an owner, a hygienist, an assistant, an admin team member, whomever. Like, how am I going to grow? Like, what do I need? I feel like you're going to find that a lot of this is, I'm going to call it turmoil, not in the complete negative sense, in your practice.
Very well said, brother. Cool. I was so excited to see, that wasn't so bad, was it?
No, it's fantastic. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm going to have you again and again and again. It's called voluntolding. Right. You don't have a choice. So we'll cover other topics. I actually want to unpackage the whole training or developing thing because, now what you guys don't know is I get regular texts from Dr. Mazzola, and he'll text me a book, and I'm reading it right now, Song of Significance. It's great. My whole team is reading the previous book that you gave us on hidden potential. And then you just share great like mini thoughts. So I'm going to encourage you guys, if you're listening to this, follow Mazzola, like check him out on Instagram. I don't know if you post anything like, I don't know, more of your stuff is kind of fun and engaging type stuff, but I want people to find out who you are. Check some of that stuff out. What do you think?
I'm here for you guys. Reach out.
Sounds good. Well, stick around, brother, while we say goodbye to everybody else. But thank you guys for listening to the Best Practices Show. Hey, if you enjoyed today, which I hope you did, do us a favor, hit the share button, share this with your friends. Keep sending us things you guys want to see. Encourage your friends to take CE for the right motivation. And we're hoping that this information creates a better practice, better life. So until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy your day.